Chapter 13. The Eve Before the Longest Night. The young witches were all moved into the main house and getting ready for the winter solstice. They inhabited most of the second floor, but spent the majority of their time in the new morning room, the old library, and their bedrooms. Since the dining room was still under construction, they took most of their meals in the morning room. This day, they were enjoying their breakfast while sitting in one of the window seats, their tea and biscuits before them on a little round table. Since the confrontation with their mother, the Deadwoods hadn't been so dreary. Even with winter coming, the skies seemed less gray, and they sometimes even got sunlight in the morning room. They had a spectacular panoramic view of the dead woods, and they could see all the way to the thicket in every direction. I wonder when we will see the first snowfall, said Gothel. Hazel, do you smell snow? Not yet, Gothel, but soon. They were preparing for the longest night. This year, Gothel had her own ideas of how to celebrate now that their mother wasn't there to dictate how they spent their holidays. Usually, it was a somber affair, everyone in black, and the main house entirely dark and freezing cold. Their mother wouldn't even allow fires in the hearths on the longest night. Minea welcomed the death of winter and celebrated the longest night with a day of fasting and the reciting of the names of all their ancestors while leaving them little gifts and offerings of their favorite foods on a communal altar. It was a somber version of Samhain, during which the lives of their ancestors were celebrated. Minea had little oval oil paintings of all their ancestors in wooden frames, which she set on the family altar and would tell the girls their stories in succession. After the stories, they would stand at the altar, looking at the portraits in silence, careful to stay perfectly still so as not to frighten away the ghosts of their ancestors should they decide to visit them on the longest night. This year, there will be a portrait of Mother among the others. Her sisters didn't seem to be excited about the solstice, even though Gothel had gone out of her way to make sure they'd enjoy themselves. Never once in their entire upbringing had their mother allowed them to have a solstice tree or exchange gifts, and Gothel thought having the tree would lighten her sisters' heavy hearts, but they still moped around the house, lackluster and peaky. We should decorate the solstice tree today, Primrose, said Gothel, as she smeared chocolate hazelnut spread on a biscuit, looking at the bare tree. If you wish, Gothel, said Primrose, yawning. What's wrong, Prim? Are you okay? Still not feeling well? I'm just exhausted all the time, and honestly, I'm not excited about the longest night. That's because I haven't told you how we're going to celebrate. We're going to do what we do every year, said Hazel, picking at a biscuit. Hazel had gotten frightfully thin the past few months, and her eyes looked weary. Both of Gothel's sisters looked pallid, actually. Gothel looked at them, wondering what she could do to liven their spirits. We're going to fill this entire house with light. What? Asked Hazel and Primrose in unison. You heard me. Every single room will be filled with light. Look out the window. The wagons arrived this morning while you were sleeping. Primrose and Hazel went to the windows that faced the courtyard. Sir Jacob was down there, directing their minions like a wizard performing magic on a windy hilltop, gesticulating and pointing in various directions with great fervor. Are those candles? Yes, wagons and wagons of them. We are going to infuse this house with light. I've been reading about how other witches celebrate the longest night, and there are some witches who feel it's best to make it a celebration of light. Where did you read that? Asked Hazel. In one of the books that came in one of Jacob's many wagons. You've grown rather dependent upon him. Do you think that's wise? Asked Primrose. He's happy to have the work. He likes to be busy. Mother always kept him tucked away in his crypt unless she needed him for battle or to handle the deliveries. He never sleeps, Gothel. He's always awake, doing things for us, said Hazel, making Gothel laugh. You're right. He never sleeps, and he'd rather have something to do than sit in his crypt waiting to be called upon. I've talked to him about this already, Hazel. I promise this is what he'd prefer. And what about the minions? Do you let them rest? Hazel asked. Hazel, we've gone over this so many times. He works them in shifts, letting them sleep for days at a time before they have to work again. And before you ask again, the children are not awake in their graves. They're sleeping. Gothel stood up and walked over to her sister. Hazel, I'm worried about you. You keep forgetting things. I'm just tired, Gothel. I'm fine. You're getting so thin. Can you please eat? Just a little bit. Isn't there something I can tempt you with? Is there something I can have Jacob fetch for you? No, Gothel, I'm fine. I think I'll go to my room and lie down. I have a headache. Okay, Hazel. Rest well. Gothel watched nervously as her sister left the room. Never in their lives had any of them been ill. It just didn't happen. Gothel didn't know what to make of that. She decided she would spend the day in her mother's library and see if there was something she could do to help Hazel. Prim, I'm going to mother's library. Do you want to put some of those red hearts on the tree? I had them made for you. Yes, I think I will. Can you ask Jacob to send someone up to help with the boxes? Really? I didn't think you'd want any of Mother's creatures in here. I feel a little differently now. Some of them were destroyed while protecting us from Mother. There are creatures now. I'm happy you see it that way. I'll have Jacob send someone up to help you. As Gothel made her way out of the morning room and down to her mother's private library, she ran into Jacob, who was supervising the renovations in the dining room. It's starting to come together in here, she said, looking around the room. Hello, Lady Gothel. Jacob always addressed her as such when they were around the other minions or her sisters. Otherwise, he would call her Little Witch, which she had started to find very endearing. Gothel honestly didn't know what she would do without him. Lady, I have some questions for you about this room. You said you wanted shutters on these windows. Gothel was awestruck by the majesty of the room now. It still had its stone carvings of harpies and ravens in flight, and its many large windows cut right out of the stone. But the minion workers had installed hinged windows so the room could still be open to the elements if they chose. It was brilliant the way they had done it, with the frames of the windows painted to match the stone, giving the room the illusion of looking as it had before. The contrast between the dark stone and the grayish blue sky was remarkable. I'm not so sure I do now. I thought you might feel differently. I hope you don't mind I had the windows fitted. It seemed a shame to shut out the view and the light. You're right, and I love the new table, chairs, rugs, and red tapestries. Oh, and the chandeliers and new wall sconces. Thank you, Jacob. My pleasure, said Jacob, betraying some pride in his work. Jacob, yes? Are you truly happy with all this work? Hazel and Primrose have been worried about you. I am quite happy, my little witch, said Jacob under his breath, but I am worried about your sisters. I don't wish to alarm you, but I am afraid your mother caused them permanent damage during the attack. I don't wish to overstep, little witch, but I think it's time to explore the situation. I was on my way to do just that. I'm heading down to Mother's private library now. It's your library now, lady. Don't forget that. Thank you, Jacob. I'll be there if you need me.